Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here. We are back with another One Leeds video. Hope you're okay. I'm here today to talk about expectations, to talk about reality, to talk about Leeds United, and to talk about the season coming up and what as a fan base we're sort of expecting, really. Before we start the video, everyone, really appreciate a lot of you who watched the debrief last night. Did really well. 13,000 views overnight, which is fantastic. We had over 2,000 people live watching, which is fantastic. Thank you so much for your support. If you've not seen it, make sure you go back and watch that, of course. Little one for me. Obviously, you've probably seen us rotate hosts, guests on the show a little bit, and I saw a little bit of clamour for other people last night. Now, listen, everyone, just a quick note from me. People have jobs, right? People have lives. Consistently for individuals to be rabbiting on in the comments saying, where's so-and-so, where's so-and-so, where's so-and-so, I can't facilitate that. I can't call up said person's work and say, look, he needs to be on the debrief at this time. Sorry, he's going to have to cut his shift. This can be applied to several people. You're always getting sort of the same names cropping up in the chat. This is life. You know what I mean? People move on. People have obligations, job statuses. The debrief doesn't pay money. I don't pay any of the guests money. The people come on the show to talk about Leeds United and to give up their hard-earned time to, facilitate, really. And, I just want to put this out there as well, because you're seeing brain dead idiots putting abusive comments in the section below for people just coming on and giving their free time to talk to you guys because they enjoy being part of a community and to talk about Leeds United. These people are just going to be blocked straight out next time because I've got control of the comment section. And yeah, just to clear up a little bit, it will be going forward as myself, Oscar and Gabe. Oscar's been a wonderful addition to the channel. I think the last two shows him have been excellent, very, very good quality. He brings a real good insight and he's really engaging. He wants to come on and speak about Leeds United, and I'm thoroughly enjoying reuniting with Oscar, talking about Leeds for the first time in about 4 years. So that's the situation. If you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. Honestly, it's that simple. I just wanted to get that out of the way because there seems to be a little bit of confusion at the minute. So who should be on the channel, who's not on the channel. The status is what the status is. These three people are on the channel right now, and that's what it is, okay? So let's move on directly from there. So everyone, the news today and the discussion today that I want to talk about is the expectation. And what we've not done as Leeds United fans is really sat and discussed the expectation at the club at the minute. So you're seeing Elias Share go to Leicester. Looks like it's going to be 6 million. You're seeing Chelsea midfielders going to Leicester on loan. You're seeing potentially Taylor Howard-Bellis going there on loan, as well as Callum Doyle, who's already there. I'm here to talk about reality. And I mentioned last season that there was going to be a churn of Leeds United players. And because we'd not been in the Premier League for that long, I didn't think that we built up enough sufficient quality to be able to sell on a lot of assets, and plus a lot of individual performances last season were absolutely tragic from a lot of our players. And I didn't think that we would. I thought we'd get a decent value for some of the players, but I didn't think we would get, even if we didn't have these loan clauses in a lot of these players' deals and certain clauses here, there and everywhere when it comes to relegation, I didn't think we'd get near as much as people were quoting. I was hearing 25, 30 million for Nonso, which could still happen, but 30, 35 for Meslier, 20 million for Rocker, 20 million for Adams, all this sort of stuff. So I thought that was always very, very unrealistic. But obviously, the clauses in the contracts have made everything massively difficult, but Leeds didn't have, in my opinion, the sufficient quality to be able to go down, sell, and come straight back up, really, unless we went down. This is even last season when the squad hadn't taken shape. I still thought we needed 6 bodies in, regardless of the manager. Now, we know Brendan Rodgers rejected Leeds after Leeds offered him a massive deal. And he wasn't sold on the project. We then brought Daniel Farke in, and Farke's doing obviously the best he can do, but he's on a 4-year contract. He's on very, very, very good money. And, there's no way that he's going to sort of give that up. He's been given a very lucrative deal, and he's going into this season at this moment in time talking continuously about players that need to be brought in. You know, they need reinforcements in every single position, bar the goalkeeper. You've got the 49ers talking about an aggressive strategy. It doesn't seem to align with what Daniel Farke's saying. It seems like, you know, what Farke's saying in the press is very different to what the 49ers are doing in terms of action. I was saying this last night, everybody's an accountant, an economist right now. But to just put that in a specific box, it seems like those Farke's comments and the 49ers actions are on sort of two different pages, really. There's a stimulus, but there's not really a response. I don't think it's been sufficient enough so far. I don't think we've utilised the loan market well enough so far. I think there are free agents out there that would make a difference to the quality of this side. I think when you look at the money that Leeds were willing to spend on Max Aarons, which was up to 15 million quid, that's very confusing as to why that money hasn't been reinvested immediately. It's all just a bit disjointed, and I don't think there is a proper strategic, in my opinion, plan there. And I think that's summarised by the fact that Daniel Farke is running a lot of the recruitment down there in the immediate short term, and that is what's happening as a fact. You can choose to believe that, you don't have to, or you don't need to believe it. I can tell you for a fact that's what's happening down at Leeds United right now. Daniel Farke is, in the immediate term, has a massive bearing on recruitment. You've seen that with the acquisition of Ampadu, Sam Byram, Max Aarons, the approach for him, and obviously right now the rumoured Leeds United interest in Brandon Williams, which is once again a Farke link. So a lot of these acquisitions are from his side of things. Joe Rodon was a Steinson link, obviously with him having that Spurs connection, but aside from that, it's very Daniel Farke heavy, and this is where the project for me doesn't really, I mean, they were saying about how Farke was the man. He wasn't. Rodgers was their man. That's who they wanted 100%. And they had a plan going forward with him. Rodgers rejected the offer because he didn't like what Leeds were going forward with in terms of a plan. Obviously, Leeds wanting to keep a lot of the players from last season. Rodgers didn't want to do that. But overall, the recruitment when it was just Daniel Farke at Norwich was slightly problematic. It was, when you look at the negotiation behind the scenes of Josh Sargent, Christoph Jolis, players of that ilk, you need a real direct link between, the recruitment guys and the manager, of course. So I think it all just seems a little bit wayward at the minute. And the reason I'm talking about all these things is because obviously nothing really links, in my opinion. But the reason I'm talking about all these things is because I think as fans, and I've sort of come to this realization over the past sort of like 48 to 72 hours, really, that I was hoping for a really positive window. It's been nothing short of a horror show in terms of a window. And I've now really mediated my expectation, because I think if Leeds United are going into a genuine fixture with having, Jamie Shackleton right wing, Dan James left wing, Joe Gelhardt up top, and Ian Pervada in the cam. I've said this before on a video, we're literally looking at the bottom half of the championship instead of the top half. And the only reason you wouldn't think that, in my terms, in terms of realism, is because you're a Leeds United fan. You've got those tinted glasses on. We used to be in the Premier League a year ago, so we're automatically better than lots of teams in this division, which is just, it's nonsense. And the Championship is a ruthless league, as we all know. And there were too many people who were too cocky about getting out of this league, and they're getting a big reality check right now. And I know it's early. I know we've got, 17 days left, but people were saying this to me when there was 30 days left, and Leeds have moved on one player and got a loan signing in that time. It just doesn't seem to be moving quickly enough. Obviously, we've spoken about the FFP. At the end of the day, from last season, the simplest way of putting it is Leeds were asking players to reduce their salary by 50-60%. And the way that a lot of the players agreed to that was by putting a lot of loan clauses in their contracts. Now, when these players do go to said club, i.e. Jack Harrison to Everton are then paying his full wages, which is obviously helping Leeds United in the short term. But it was just a pure arrogance from board level that Leeds United would not go down. And these loan clauses were symptomatic of that. And the problem with these loan clauses were this was always going to bite us in the arse if we were to go down, because there's expiry dates on these activation clauses, but we don't know when that expiry date is. And it seems like the 49ers are a little bit confused as to when and how they can move on certain things. Now, we're talking about the politics of the signings last night and on the debrief, and I let Oscar and Gabe go a little bit in terms of their sort of like opinions on the 49ers, and there's a few disagreements there. I sort of stayed quiet on it because you guys know that I've got my opinions on it, and you know, you need to give other Leeds fans airtime as well. And I fully believe that the 49ers have had an understanding of what's been going on in terms of board level. I think a minority share is still enough for you to understand what happens board level, especially in terms of negotiations and contracts. You know, CEOs in particular, when you look at Angus Kinnear, will have had an understanding on these contracts. There'll have been discussions board level between Victor Orta, Angus Kinnear and Andrea Radrizzani, even if the San Francisco 49ers are not there. And there'll have been discussions about these loan clauses being in players' contracts. And that's the reason that a lot of these players were able to go from said salary to 60% less, of course, because, you know, how would you understand why these players agreed to a lot of this? It's not just for a love of the club. So in terms of contracts, Jack Harrison's contract been a big one. The 49ers said they had a massive say in that. You know, Parag has admitted that on two podcasts now. So the 49ers have been involved in individual contract dealings. In my opinion, I think it's naive to think differently, but I understand that, you know, the 49ers will not have had as much of an influence as, let's say, Victor Orta, but an understanding of what's going on, 100%. And the transitional man in Angus Kinnear will have had a definite understanding, and his advisory dealings, you know, his advice, I just should say, to the 49ers, that transition guy should have been, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. If they didn't know and they were in conjunction together earlier on, this is how you need to act. And at the minute, it seems like, for some reason at Leeds, it's almost a surprise. I don't really understand that, because it can't have been a surprise. And if it was a surprise, then I'm a little bit worried about who's in charge now, to be honest with you. Because if you are part of the club from 2017 to 2018 and you don't know certain aspects of this club which are going to really impact your first season as full owners, then I'd be a little bit worried about that. So how I'm going about it now is the expectation of when we've got these players and the player caliber, the player quality, is it's a mid-table finish. It's a lowerly mid-table finish for me. And maybe it'll take fans a few more games to realise that. Maybe some of you are already there. But unless Leeds United in, what is it now, 17 days, in my opinion, bringing 6 players, and it's funny, the player count for a lot of individuals is getting less and less and less and less. These same people were saying at the start of the window we needed 6 to 8 bodies, and now it's sort of getting less and less and less and less, because it's almost like the reality is setting in that we are not going to get anywhere near 6 bodies in 17 days. It's probably going to be 2 or 3, but then 2 or 3 are going to go out as well. Key players. We need wingers now, because we're threadbare there. You're probably looking at Crystal Palace at some point making a move for Crysencio Somerville, and then you are left with the bare bones, really, when you're looking at Leeds United. So I'm a little bit disappointed that there hasn't been more activity this week. I thought there would be. I genuinely believe that. I thought there would be some things going on. There hasn't been, and it feels like we're just walking in a negative stride path towards Friday night under the lights at Ellen Road, when you need a signing, you need a boost, you need something to be able to really reignite the fan base, which is what the 49ers were consistently banging on about. The fan base, the fan base, the fan base, the fan base. And they've got to realise from a PR standpoint that this isn't looking good from a fan base perspective. It looks like we've gone down from the Premier League. Take the, as I've said last night, the economics and the accounting from a PR standpoint and a media standpoint. The fans are looking at this, because we're not all, you know, part of the financial matrix. We're looking at it and thinking, we've gone down from the Premier League. We've sold a lot of our players in basic layman terms, and we are playing a style of football. The manager's saying one thing, the owners are saying another, and we are playing football, and we with a manager who's got out of this division twice and nobody's backing him, and they're not backing him. And that's how you're looking at it in basic layman terms. Too many people now are getting intertwined with this financial rubbish, and I think they've got to make something happen quickly. I think before Friday night, I don't think it will, but when you're looking at imagine the boost at Ellen Road if you were to bring a player in who we're all aware of. Doesn't even need to be a player who we're all aware of, but a player of caliber who we've read things about, and we're thinking, oh, this guy's going to make a difference. You unveil him before the game on Friday night. What an unbelievable boost that would be. And I genuinely believe it'd be a surge towards 3 points. But at this minute, there's too much negativity around the club. And these are the same cohort of players. Take Ampadu and Joe Rodon and Carl Darlow out of that lineup. These are the same players who were out on loan. The majority of them last season, well, the majority of the front line anyway, or the rest of them have won 11 games. I think it's 11 games in 18 months. So as I mentioned last season, they are perennial losers. And that's why regeneration had to happen. It hasn't happened yet. So how does a sudden change in mentality happen when you've also gone through the window with even more negativity? It doesn't just change like that. It's not going to switch up like that. There needs to be fresh bodies, fresh faces. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Really fascinated to hear your thoughts on this one. Have your expectations changed? Why have they changed? And let me know if, how you're feeling about West Brom on Friday night. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. See you in a bit.